Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Once again, I am on the sponsored series, and today I have found a 5 million AI awakening mission. Now, I am going to take this here for the quick and easy completion. Now, right now, I am just doing it for the sake of hunting those missions. I've been logging in regularly looking for the 30 mil missions, and so far, well, I haven't found a 30 mil mission. I found several small missions, but no large missions as yet. So that finale for the series might be delayed. Oh, okay. So where is it? Now, as you can see, I'm still in low sec. Actually, I'm in high sec basically, but I'm not really in a very dangerous area. I'm in the middle of empty space right now, and I'm enjoying myself with taking on a little bit more of a mission. So let's see what it's gonna be like. These are T9 level gear, so I'm definitely going to take everything I can as soon as this mission is over. There's no way I'm gonna leave this to chance. Is this one set on? Yeah, it is on auto orbit. Let me just double check this. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite easy. I'm pulling it with a close range fight right now, and later, maybe on the big video, you might actually see me in a Naga. Now, Nagas are really expensive at the moment on the market in Jita, and I really like to get a hold of one. If I can get a hold of one for around 300 mil, I don't mind. It's 80 mil extra. It's a fine bargain. Fitting it up is going to be the problem at that point because 100 mil per rig, if I am correct, for the range extension, which I'm going to do, and that's not going to give me exactly what I want in terms of performance. So let's see if I can take this out. It's a nice big hit. Now, as you can see, I'm really flying through this mission at the moment. The reason for this mission being so easy for me in particular is because I know exactly what I'm doing, and you know, these missions aren't really so tough when it comes to actual combat. They're actually just a little bit tough in terms of time. So basically, they're not really difficult, they prolonged. I hope that it makes some sense. So don't ever think that the hard missions are hard. They just prolonged missions. They take a little bit of extra time. They give you that little bit of extra time consuming element, and that's where they rank. That's what they are. So don't ever think of them as a difficult mission to complete. Why isn't my I didn't notice that I hadn't activated the drone. Now, you might be wondering why was that so important? Well, with the drone active, even though it isn't doing massive DPS, it's not doing hundreds or thousands of DPS. That small little 60 or 80, whichever hit it gives, is taking off a little bit more damage from the overall. And when I make a 4100, add 60 to it, 4160. I made 4175, and let's see what the drone is, 41. So that makes it 4200 damage in that one hit, and there's going to be a second hit from it and a third hit, and all this here piles on. It makes the fight go a little bit faster, and the faster your fight continues, the faster you continue up when it comes to your mission. Right, 1 2. Now, for the Megatron, I'm actually going to go right into it because these big ships really have a weak spot on their close range. So let's see if I can finish this Talos off. Now, as soon as I launch missiles at it, I'm going to have to start closing in that distance even faster. 4,400. Now, as you can see, the damage just increased massively with the missile plus the target painter plus the fact that the drone is hitting it. Now, if I get closer and I can actually impact it enough, I can have an even larger impact. Now, missiles are one of the best weapon systems for several reasons. One of the reasons why most players actually chose them was they have an overall application of damage that is constant throughout. So, since they apply a constant form of damage, generally when the resistance changes and you move from shield to armor, you still have a consistent flow of damage. You might be reduced by 1 or 2 hundred, but you still have the consistent flow of damage moving through with your attack. You don't have to worry about losing effectiveness or losing firepower all of a sudden because you have this massive DPS that came standard. 84, that's a fantastic hit from the drone. 4,217. As I said, there's a slight reduction when you come down closer. Not closer, sorry. When you come down into the armor. Okay, there we go. Now, every weapon suffers a reduction at some point on the ship. The shield is weak to EM damage, which the missile has, which is why it does that slightly extra amounts of damage on the shield, and why it still does effective damage against the armor. Now, a laser falls off in the exact opposite because the bulk of its damage comes from EM, and armor has this massive EM resistance, so you lose like a third of your damage or a quarter of your damage, and that's where that massive impact comes in. So this is just one of the ways in which I can avoid taking heavy damage and keep going at a fight with the best type of weapon system for my particular play. Now, I am an all-round player. In other words, if I jump from Garista space to Sanchez space, I'll still be able to take out a Sanchez fleet. If I had to jump up to railguns, I'll take out shields like they don't exist, but I'll struggle against armor a little bit. So that's exactly the reason why I'm not in that class as of yet. If you had to look at my research, you'd understand that I'm really not very well focused in large weapons. Had there been an assault class missile cruiser, I definitely would have bought that as soon as T8 opened. But it's just that the assault class doesn't have that large range missile battle cruiser. If there was one, I would be using it because the DPS plus the overall performance of the ship plus the fact that you could then most likely support the large weapon system would really make a massive difference to my playstyle. Okay, this one is most probably going to try and push in, push in, push in. So as you can see, it's already disrupted me. This is one of the things about the mid slots that's a bit of a troublesome thing in the middle of the mission. You need to watch out for these disruption weapons when they activate on you. Remember, they affect your propulsion speed, and that affects your ability to evade fire or get out of a tight situation. Remember to always keep an eye on where the enemies are. If you don't keep an eye correctly and you end up allowing yourself to drift in too close to a engagement, you could see yourself losing your shield way faster than you naturally would have, and that's going to actually cost you long term in the game. Because, like you can see right now, I can take out that Nemesis in 3 shots, but if the Nemesis wasn't that particular build, I most likely would be in for a little bit of a surprise. Oh, okay, yes, these are armor build like I'm expecting. And I'm locking already. Now I already know it's going to take me 3 shots to take care of the second Nemesis, but I do know that I'm really out of range when it comes to fighting it at the moment. There we go. That's gonna hit. Now, here I had the disruptor on me, the sensor dampener. The sensor dampener reduces my signal tracking range. So it makes everything look like they have smaller tracking signals. So it's harder for me to pinpoint and lock. So it makes your locking speed a lot slower. That is one of the ways in which the sensor dampener helps you in combat. When you have a large fleet, when you deploy the sensor dampener against any member, you delay the amount of time till the first round launches. And it's only really effective in those first few seconds of combat. Guidance disruptors, they're really effective against missiles. Now, the reason why they're so effective is they cut off a certain amount of your explosive radius, so it makes your explosion disperse more. So provided your ship isn't super large, it's really going to have a massive effect. They also reduce your firing range, so you have to close in closer and closer depending on which type of weapon you are using. So right now, since I'm not facing off against Caldari enemies, I have a slight edge on them because they can't really knock out my weapon system. Had they had a missile disruption system, this would be really, really bad for me. Let me get in a lot closer than this. Now you will see me do this quite regularly where I drop my range against enemies to very, very small increments. And the reason for this is quite simple. When a ship is larger and you close that radius around it, you generally take less damage, especially when you're versing a superior weapon system. Now, the Talos and the Megatron have large weapon systems, so it's a superior weapon system. Now, with the superior weapon system comes the weakness of the close range fire. There's a much bigger range where you fall under their guns, where their optimal starts to break off because your targeting signature becomes faster and faster in the closer radius. So it becomes harder and harder for them to hit you. While on the outer edge, you're moving 20 meters or 30 meters till they can hit you. You're now moving right in front of them. So they're going to nick you all the time, and it's going to cause them to glance and penetrate a lot, not penetrate, sorry, glance and miss a lot more than normal. So that's one of the reasons why I like to close in on these big ships in this particular faction. Obviously, you don't do it against missiles. Missiles have explosive damage. You could be running through explosive damage consistently and doubling the damage you take. Okay, he's almost dead, so I'll do the exact same thing to this one. Now I am running my shield rep at the moment. I'm trying to pull up some of my health. Now for the Megatron, if I was really, really close, you'll see that my damage starts to reduce a lot faster. It did hit me for quite a hit. I'm just going to drop the shield rep. Now you're going to get to see exactly where I'm taking damage as I close in. I took 2% at this range. So if I close in a little bit more, there's a possibility of me reducing the damage even more. So as you can see, I put on a really small number. That's because I have my optimal target lock for the auto orbit. So the moment I'm in the close range of 13 and I activate my Weber fires, it will stabilize me out at around, what was it, 11 kilometers. Now, the difference between the assault battle cruisers and the battleships is about a 25,000 defense difference. Now, the 25,000 defense difference is really not that huge for us right now in the game. So don't worry about running your battle cruiser against battleships in these missions. They aren't really going to out-tank you. That is the whole idea behind a battleship. It's meant to out-tank you, and it's meant to have a weapon system that really, really hurts when it hits. And it's not meant to hit consistently like a lot of the other systems. I did take a lot of damage in there because I didn't activate my shield booster. Now, by the time I fall in all the way to the close range on the ship, It's already going to be halfway dead by the looks of it. Now, obviously, 10 videos on just ratting isn't really the simplest thing for a person to do. And this is one of the ways in which I used to make a lot of ISK. Now, I say used to because the value of these missions is a lot lower than they once were. They no longer have the consistency to boost you up 100,000 in a day. They can't take you up to 1 or 200 million in a day if you push hard enough. So yeah, I really can't push for it, because if you could complete 330 mil missions, that used to be all the way up to 90 mil, and then all your bounties from the day at 1.5 every 15 minutes, with all of those missions taking you about 3 hours. That's 12 1.5 ticks. 12 times 1.5, that's going to give you 12 million plus 6 million, 18 million added to your 90. That's 98 million all together as your complete tick, and that's with a team running it with you. If you were going solo, you definitely would have a higher tick on those overflows of bounties. You'd most probably be doing something closer to I'm trying to figure out how much you would do if you had taken it solo. I remember I did 2.5 million a tick across uh, 1 hour 20 minutes to complete a 30 mil solo. So if I did 3, that would be 4 hours. So 4 hours at 2.5 mil, it's quite a big difference. Okay, now okay, yeah, there's it. I'm already locked. Now I don't really have to worry too much. The small chips don't pack enough of a punch to take me out quick enough, and there's 4 of them on the close range. 1.6 mil, not bad. It's a good tick. And there's 5 mil to earn at the end of this mission, so that's also an. Okay, now that was a massive big fail. I'm in big trouble because of that. It happens every once in a while. It's just like a sticky control. It just happens every once in a bit. I don't understand why it happens. You click them, they don't activate. Sometimes they shimmer instead of taking the click. It's just the way that sensitivity works sometimes on devices. It's the way that the game sometimes registers motion, because both actions are possible, so it has to consider both. Okay, there we go. Come on. Yeah, I did expect my warning to show up now. I did lose a lot of power with that activation of my shield extender on my regular capacitor instead of the extender, which is really hurting me right now in combat. The Nemesis should have tried to close in on me. I don't know why it's drifting out. Okay, there we go. So this is the last wave in this little mission. You'll see how long it took me as soon as I end the video, because basically I started this in the sector. It isn't a 100% identifier for the time for these missions. Remember, most people are going to be running around within a region. You're going to be launching from a certain point and continuously move within a very close region. Now, this Megatron that has tried to drop below the 10k mark is definitely a close range fighter. So it's the exact opposite of the regular story, but I'm still going to fight it with the close range fire. Whew, I'm really low on cap right now. There's no way I can drop my shield booster at the moment. Whew. Okay, so that's a little bit of a reprieve. Not really counting that much. And as I recover some power in that little gap, by the time the next one hits, I won't have this reprieve to help me for the next engagement. Yeah, I'm gonna have to drop my booster for a little bit in this fight. When I drop to 15% again, I will be dropping the booster. That's because at that point it becomes a worthwhile drop, and I should have a few seconds to the next big boost. There's it. Now, even though I am right at the edge and I'm taking a lot of damage, I can drop the booster till it drops me to about 52%. That's because with that next big boost that drops in, I'm going to have a chance to actually take these ships on quite easily compared to where I am right now. And this is all I need. Come on, hit, hit, hit. Right. Sweet. Now, when everything locks onto the ship, it's going to reduce the damage I'm taking from this close range fire. Come on. Okay. Right, let's start boosting. Now I should be recovering slightly from the damage instead of taking excess damage at this point in the fight. How did the Megatron gain on me? It shouldn't have even gained a kilometer. That was a very odd one. And I'm not gaining shield. It's actually still taking me down. That's a bit scary. So this is basically a Galante type space encounter. Because of the enemies that I'm fighting, I'm facing off a very Galante based troop. So I do have to be a little bit careful about taking excess damage to my shields. And that is really hard. And they are really tanky when it comes to armor, so it's really going to be a long fight for me. So it's going to be another 5 hits before that armor comes down. So a long way till I reach the Dominics. So I have gained a little bit. Hopefully I can gain a little bit more. Nope. Now you might be wondering why I started at this point. Although they do have a lot of hull, it's only 4 hits, and by the time that 4 hits is down, I could close in a lot more onto that Dominix, and that will definitely change the flow of damage that I'm taking. I'm also willing to risk taking a bit more damage while I'm breaking away from the Megatron. Remember, I'm only down to 2 battleships. Battleships do pack a heavy punch, but these aren't faction running gear, so their damage is quite low by comparison. The T9, okay, wait, there's it. I have to drop this. If I keep going, I'll drop into the 10% mark, and at 10%, I do take a heavy amount of damage. All right, yes, that's where I want to be. Now you might be wondering why I'm waiting. That's because my weapons are going to change the distance. Should still be on the smaller range. No, 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 no. Why didn't it? Now, if I manage to close in enough, I'm only fighting one big ship. That will mean that I'll take a lot less damage. I can drop my shield boosting for a lot larger periods of time. And it also means I can do excess damage when I finally do disrupt its motion completely. It's also going to improve my resistance to the damage I take. So all of that is a bonus for me at close range. And with medium missiles, I have that ability to hit anything within that close range corridor. So within that 30 kilometers, everything that comes in there is definitely going to get hit. Okay, drop. I only need 3 reps, and then I should be pretty much as safe can be from taking heavy damage. That was my drone at 148 against this particular ship. That's due to its slow motion. As you can see, I just took a 2% hit, and reduction has kicked in. Now, from this point onwards, you're going to see that I'm going to take a lot less in terms of firepower. If it hits me, it should be smaller hits than the regular. I'm recovering quite a bit of energy. I'm at 31%. When I boost up again, obviously I'll kick in the booster for a few minutes, and not for a few minutes, for a few reps. I'll give it 3 reps, and then I'll kick it off again, and that's going to pull me up quite a bit. I should breach the 50% mark on power. I'm quite safe where I am right now. As you can see, I haven't taken damage in a few hits. And there I go. This is just about the end of it. I should have 100%, yeah, 100% shields, 50% power. I'm at the right rate. As you can see, 1% off a hit where it was doing 2% originally. Massive difference in damage output. Plus the fact that I'm running a hardener means that that figure is really tiny. Plus the ship naturally will heal that 1% if I give it enough time. And as soon as the ship goes, I should get my 5 mil. Now the 5 mil is obviously reduced by tax. I don't count tax out of your figure because the tax goes to your corp. So it's something that contributes to the wallet of your corporation. It's always something that helps a corp. It can always help a corp grow larger and larger by the day. There I go, 4.5 mil, obviously 10% tax. So that was the easy peasy way to do the AI mission. I hope that you did have fun with the sponsored video. Honestly, I do this all the time. I do have fun playing those simple encounters. That one was a little bit worrying. I lost track of 1 or 2 functions. I don't have to keep the hardener on. I don't have to keep the orbit of the drone. So there we go. Let's see how long this took. Almost 30 minutes. So still about the same in these missions. Thank you all for watching. Have a good